Now, just as a bit of some pre-information here, when we got the email last week that I was to perform, my name was Stewart Fergus, and as such, that's what I've written my speech about. That's been corrected, but there you go. Thank you for that introduction, and good evening. Although I answer today as Stewart Fergus, and not my real name, Fergus Stewart, not sure how that got flipped, but it doesn't really matter, because to tell you the truth, I like it both ways. Which is not a reference to my sexuality, but if it was, which it isn't, would be of no consequence and significance in our current climate of complete acceptance and respect for all ways. But, so I said, today's just my name, which has been switched, not my gender, which even if it was, is completely fine. So let's just get back to where we were in the whole names thing. Good evening, my name is Fergus Stewart, and not the other way around. But going back to my name, which is about as Scottish as Sean Connery's chest hair, and I guess any other type of hair that he has on his body. But anyway, I got that moniker because my great-great-grandfather and his great-great-grandfathers before him were Stewarts of Aspen, hailing from Aberdeenshire in Scotland. I know this to be true because my mother looked it up on Ancestry.com and is still trying to unsubscribe after 10 years of being part of it. And my father confirmed it by displaying his Scottishness by bitterly cursing and throwing himself about the kitchen like a wild haggis on cocaine whenever he gets the monthly bill. Anyway, I digress. Stewart is my family name, and that essentially makes me Scottish. But not Scottish as in I was born in Scotland Scottish. The type of Scottish as in I breathed in second-hand Scot at a Glasgow pub. I'm close enough to someone Scottish that I can get all the positive and the negative repercussions of being Scottish. Fergus, my given name, was given to me after my mother watched a movie whilst pregnant and fell in love with the protagonist. It's probably not uncommon for these types of things to happen. I mean, there are plenty of Tom, Dicks and Harrys that have been named after dashing characters on the silver screen. The cause of Mum's heartthrob was actually a transgender Irish terrorist in the hit 1990s film The Crying Game. An unusual choice for your firstborn son to be named after, but she was also a big fan of Johnny Cash, and we all know what happened to that boy named Sue. Anyway, I grew to love my Scottish name, and the fact that it is so utterly misleading. Why? Not because I'm an Irish transgender terrorist, although even if I was, that would be completely fine. Not really the terrorist part, the other part. But anyway, I'm losing track. In fact, even more so. But here's where the story gets interesting. You see, it is a Scottish name, but a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. And just to be clear, my name's not Rose, but again, even if it was, that would be fine. But this hardy Scottish name belies the history. On my mother's side, and no, not to cut you short, she wasn't Paddy Hearst kidnapped by the IRA and love-struck by her captors. That was actually my auntie. But my mother was the great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter of an Irish convict. Just on that note, please check your pockets and your phones before you leave. These genes are pretty dominant, and well, to be honest, we are in Bentley, so check them regardless anyway. And to add to that cultural stew, Mum was the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of who she thought was an Austrian goat herder called Francis Golden, which explained why she yodeled us to dinner at night, until she discovered, while climbing the family tree, like a deranged orangutan looking for an ethnic banana, that at the time of her great-great-great-great-granddaughter's great-grandfather's migration to Australia in search of gold, the Austrian Empire controlled most of Europe. And the man in question was actually a Croatian. It was in fact completely unknown even to Ancestry.com because he was looking for gold, so he changed it at customs before going into duty free. And thus, just like the Kanye West song Gold Digger, which he eerily mirrored his life, his name was Evermore. Now, if that isn't the greatest multicultural metaphor for Australia, I'll leave. Walk out the door right now, and never to be seen again. But I won't, because I still have 30 seconds on this stage. And to be honest, despite Croatians' love for cheap beer, cheaper sex, and passionate disco dancing, I don't get out much. Adding to that, my Jewish blood on my mother's side, my father's my father's New Zealand ties, and my love for The Sopranos, which somehow makes me Italian. Add all this up, and you get Stewart Fergus or Fergus Stewart, the essence of Australia, the quintessential byproduct of the ever-changing melting pot. So come on, grab a spoon, dig in. Thank you, you've been a lovely audience.